Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Toni podcast. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I am so excited to have Joy Harrington with me today. Virtually, she's sitting in front of me. I had the pleasure of meeting her in person back in March. We were in the same mastermind together. If you don't know what a mastermind is, I'm sure Joy will be happy to share with you, but I'll give you the quick kind of breakdown of it. It's basically just an opportunity to connect with like-minded people, to help you kind of grow, get other eyes on your business, and just honestly help you be the best version of you. And I had the pleasure of meeting Joy, who really just I connected to almost right away. And she is just really good at reading people and understanding what it is that you need to do to just be a better you, which so that also translates in your business. So she's going to introduce herself in a second and share a little bit more about that. But anyways, Joy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You're so welcome. I'm very excited to have you. We're going to talk a lot about feminine energy and the difference between that and masculine energy and how that can help your business. Super excited for the listeners to learn about why we have to stop trying to hustle so hard, because it's really just continuously leading to burnout. So I feel like this conversation is going to be super helpful, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a mom, whether you're a woman. I'm sure even the men listening to this could probably learn some things. So I'm super excited. Joy, why don't you start by introducing yourself by sharing who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do?
Yes. So I'm a life and business coach, and I specialize in feminine energy to help women get better results while ditching the hustle. And I definitely didn't start this way. I actually grew up one of 9 children in extreme religion. And
Wow.
I'm a pastor's daughter, and I totally thought growing up I was just going to be a wife and a mom, and that was it. And so my whole life was geared towards become a wife and mom. I married Mr. Right when I was 25, got pregnant with my first at 27, became a mom 2 times before I hit 30. And then at 30 years old, I found out that my husband had a pornography addiction and there was infidelity in my relationship. And I totally hit rock bottom. That was like the worst fear of mine that anyone could ever go through. And so I literally was depressed and on the couch and suicidal with a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old running around every single day for about 9 months straight. And I thought, I don't even know who I am anymore. I thought, I've thought I'm just a wife and a mom. Like that's where I put my identity for so long. And if that's not even the case, like if I don't stay with this man, right? If that's not who I am, then who am I? And for so long, I waited to feel better, hoping that it would pass. And part of grieving, you do have to give some time for the emotions to pass. But at about 9 months in, I saw my husband. We were still together. He was seeing a counselor who specialized in this addiction. He was getting all the help. He was doing all the things I asked him to do. And I noticed that it didn't matter what he did. I still felt the same way. And that was my wake up call of realizing, holy crap, if I don't do something different, he could move heaven and earth and I will still be on the couch, angry and bitter and a victim. And I saw like 40 years down the road. And I was like, in 40 years, if I stay this person, what will my life be? And I saw like an angry woman who was still stuck in what happened to her 40 years ago. And she was so consumed with anger and bitterness that she had driven away everyone close in her life. I thought, my kids won't like me anymore. I probably won't be married. Like, who would want to hang out with me if I'm like that? And that was my wake up call of like, I can't do this anymore. I will not lose my children. I will not let this define my life. And so that was my line in the sand. And I began to start working on myself. I actually joined a network marketing company because I wanted to start stretching myself. I wanted to start growing an income, and I wanted to really start finding my purpose. It was my way of figuring out like, who am I and what is my purpose? But because I had been so wounded, because there was this huge fear there in my relationship and this lack of trust, right? Like huge lack of trust. I came at it from this perspective of, I need to go out there and protect myself. I need to go out there and make stuff happen for me because it's going to give me protection. It's going to give me freedom. It's going to give me security. And so I came at it from the hustle mode. I very much came at it from masculine, which is drive, routine, structure. Nothing wrong with that. You actually need both.
Mm-hmm.
But I went into overdrive because I had felt so unprotected in my relationship.
Wow.
So
That's powerful. Keep going. I'm listening. I'm just like, I'm taking it back. That is really powerful and really insightful. And I also feel, and I want you to keep going. I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to make this point. I do feel that in order for, I think for a lot of people, when they first started making a change, like if it's with their health or their body or their weight or whatever, or their business, you almost, it tends to come from a hurt place. I feel like, it's rare that it's like, it starts where you want to make this change from everything's going well. And you're like, oh, let me make a change. But you're right that at some point you have to shift it because otherwise you will burn out. And it's really challenging to continue down that path.
Well, and I did burn out. And so I'll tell you that story, but really quickly to your point, we go through life. This is an analogy I always use with my clients. We go through life and things happen to us that mark us. You have memories that stand out to you that are good or bad, quote unquote bad, painful or happy. And it literally marks you as a person. And it actually that memory does not only stay with you, but it actually freezes that version of you inside of you. And you take on a belief at the same time. So when something happened to you when you were little, let's say you were 8, something happened and you actually took on a belief about yourself, because children do not know how to process things from an intellectual brain. They only know how to process from an emotional brain. So they literally make everything mean something about them. So let's say mom and dad got divorced when you were 8, you will look at that situation. And even though they're telling you it has nothing to do with you, you as a child only have your emotional brain. And so you go, why am I not enough? I must not have been enough. And so when you say like, does everything start from wounds? Well, absolutely, because we're all wounded. Like we've all survived something and multiple things. That's just one thing. When you were 8, you've got years and years and years of things that happened to you where you took on beliefs and multiple versions of you that got frozen inside of you. So when I went through infidelity, it wasn't just that was being triggered. It wasn't just that wound that was being that was so hard for me. It's actually that I already had previous versions of me that didn't feel seen, that didn't feel heard, that didn't feel accepted, that didn't feel loved for who I was. And so when this happened with my husband, it was like ripping off the Band-Aid to all these other wounds that I had. And that's what typically happens to people. So I went into this, you know what, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make shit happen, which was great. It got me off the couch. It got me starting to take care of myself. It got me to start doing personal development and all the things. But I went into overdrive, and it was definitely from a wounded place of, I will go prove that I matter. I will go prove that I can achieve things and people will see me and know who I am, because I didn't get that. I didn't get that here. So I'm going to go make that happen. And so I literally hustled my way to building a team, hitting number 107 in the company. We did over $1 million in sales on Instagram in 4 years, like big things. And then in 2019, August of 2019, I hit 107 in the company, a coveted elite spot, all the things. And I just like turned off. I hit my wall. I'm done, totally burnt out, not doing this anymore. And everybody looked at me and was like, are you crazy? Like, you just did this huge thing. And I was like, yeah. And that's it. Like, that didn't do anything for me. Like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel happy. And literally, this is all I'm going to do for like the rest of my life. And so that's when I went to an event where I met my first coach, and I was talking with her, and she looked at me and said, you need to do what's right for you. And she was the first person that told me that. And that really gave me permission to follow what I was feeling already, which was that wasn't enough, and that I really wanted to do something else. I didn't know it, but I was needing permission. And I think so many people out there are living their whole lives waiting for someone to give them that permission. And they're going to go their whole life and never get it. And so my encouragement to you, if you're listening right now, is to find someone that can help you give yourself that permission, because no one's going to come up to you and say, yep, you're ready now. Yep, you can actually do the thing. Yep, you can actually follow that voice inside. Like, you're not crazy for wanting to do this or leave this or that. So you have to find a way to give that to yourself. So that's when I started my own brand, my own podcast. I started getting into coaching. I got certified in coaching. And then it was in 2020, as I was building my brand and I generated 6 figures in 6 months, that I realized, guess what, Joy? You're still doing the same thing, just with a different vehicle. I was
Mm,
still hustling my little tail off and constantly feeling tired, not excited, not motivated, short tempered with my kids, no libido in my marriage, all
mm,
the things.
mhm.
And that's when we started working with a marriage coach who introduced us to masculine and feminine energy.
Wow.
And that's what changed my life.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you, because I listened to your podcast. I follow you on Instagram. I got to speak with you like personally, and you really are so, there's like so many words I want to use: intellectual, inspiring. Like, I feel like you know so much, and I was going to ask you, like, where did you learn this from? Was it from other coaches? Like, I just feel like there's just, I would love to, like, I feel like we do have to do this sidebar, like another day, just like, we don't live in the same state, but maybe have like a virtual, Zoom coffee and just like talk. And I just want to like hear and learn from you, because you just know so much. So where did you learn all of this stuff? And then, yeah, please share maybe a little bit more about the difference between masculine and feminine energy.
So, masculine and feminine energy, we first began to hear about it from my coach, Steph, and he talked about it in dynamics of relationships. And it didn't totally register for me until we went to him for coaching for our relationship. We had a point in our relationship where we had survived, we had totally survived infidelity, but that was it. We had gotten through survival and we were still just surviving, and we weren't thriving. We weren't growing together. We weren't in love. Like, we weren't making this a relationship of our dreams. And I was like, I don't want that. Like, I'm not going to stay here if that's how it's going to be. So something's got to change. So we found our coach, and he told us to read the book Intimate Communion by David Data. So if you have not read that book and you're in a relationship or you want a relationship, go read it, because he talks all about masculine and feminine energy. And actually, my husband read it first and it blew his mind. He was like, oh my God, I understand you now.
I love that.
And our daughter too. And I was like, well, that's good. So masculine and feminine energy, everyone has both. And it's a state of being, right? When we think about energy, it's how you feel. It's literally your come from. Like, what is the energy behind what you're doing? What is the state of how you're living? So masculine is very task oriented. It's very driven. It's got a lot of structure. It's got a lot of routine. It's got a lot of push, right? It's mission and driven, and like, you're making shit happen, which is great. When you think about it from like a visual perspective, you can even picture the city of New York. New York is very masculine. It's got tall, erect buildings. Everybody's busy. They're going places. They're doing things. It's not like you go to New York and you're like, I'm so relaxed. You go to New York and you're like, it's go time, right? You feel it. Versus feminine energy is very flowy. It's very creative. It's very soft. It's very wild at the same time. It's Hawaii, if you want to think of an actual place. When you think of Hawaii, you immediately relax because it feels relaxing there. It's very lush. It's green. It's just a place where you go and you feel peaceful, right? You feel calm. You don't feel like you need to get up and make shit happen. So we have both, but most of us are actually stronger in one versus the other. Just how we're born, how we're wired, all the things. And it has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with just you and how you were born, how you were wired. But we live in a culture that's very much built around masculine energy. We were taught from the age of going to school and all the things, right? Like, get up with an alarm, like get stuff done, like follow the routine, like all the things. So most people probably don't even know their true wiring for it, because they're so ingrained with one, more masculine, that they think that that's their norm. And I'm like, you might not realize that you're actually more feminine than you think. But we need both. So we need both, but we're stronger in one. 80%-ish of women are more naturally feminine in their nature. And we've learned how to use our masculine to make shit happen, because we weren't accepted in the workplace for a long time. We're not treated equally in the workplace. So we've had to fit in to a man's world so we can be really good at that. And at the same time, it can make us really unhappy. It can totally burn us out. It can lead us to unfulfilling relationships, unfulfilling careers, right? So learning how to balance both and how to incorporate both into your life in your business really comes down to a place of being able to let yourself question a lot of the beliefs that you've had, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us were told, well, you have to hustle to go make sales. Well, you have to do this to go be successful. Well, you have to work this way to make it work, right? And so, for women in particular, for me in particular, when I first started really getting into feminine side, it freaked me out because I was like, I'm going to lose everything. Like everything that I've built this far is going to fall apart,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it was a process for me of I've been over here on this pendulum on this side for so long in masculine that I'm kind of going to swing to this side for a little bit before I can find a middle, because
Mm,
you don't even know what the other side feels like. So how can you find a middle? So
yeah,
it really became about letting go of control, which was my safety net.
that's hard to do. That's very hard to do.
Yeah, letting go of control, surrender, and really learning how to listen to my intuition and my gut. Your intuition is your superpower. Your
Mhm.
heart is your superpower. When you are a feminine person with feminine energy, that is your superpower in your life and in your business. And we are not
Mhm.
taught like lead with your heart, lead with your intuition, right? We're taught like strategy, 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 which is very
Mhm.
masculine.
Mhm.
So I had to really unlearn a lot of the strategy, like this is how you have to do it, and really start to give myself permission to go, what do I actually feel led to?
Yeah.
What do I actually feel called to? What do I actually want to do? How do I want this to work? How do I want this schedule to serve me rather
Mhm.
than me showing up and being a slave to the schedule?
Mhm.
And so it became this beautiful dance, if you will, of figuring out where do I need a little more masculine in my life to support me and give me that push? And where do I need room for the feminine so that I actually can listen to my intuition and lead with my heart?
Mhm.
Because I love this picture. When you think about a river, the banks are your masculine. The banks give it structure, they hold it in place, they are firm and they don't move. That river can rage and get wild, and the masculine's like, I can handle it. I'll just sit here,
Mhm.
right? That's the masculine in your life. You need that. The feminine is the water. The feminine flows, it gets wild in some spots, it's calm in some spots, it goes this way and that way, and it flows. Without the masculine, the water goes everywhere and actually dissipates, and you lose your
Yeah.
power. So women who are in their feminine and stuck in their feminine typically can't get anything done. They really struggle with actually making stuff happen, with getting forward momentum, sticking to promises that they make themselves, um, actually following through on things, showing up for things that are uncomfortable for them. They have a really hard time because they don't have that masculine structure in place, and they're too in their feelings, right?
Mhm.
They're too all over with their feelings, as opposed to women stuck in their masculine are like, no, this is just how it is and I'm just getting shit done, and they don't even think about, do I want to do this? Does this light me up? Is this fulfilling me? Like, I'm just running people over and getting stuff
Yeah.
done, right? And then afterwards I'm gonna have all this regret, be like, oh, I actually didn't even want that and now I regret that.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I just got a free coaching session. I am very comforted actually, because I, for so long, and it's really, I remember having a conversation with you in Arizona, and you kind of brought up like, when did things shift for me? And I remember I was 9. I talk about it in my book. I was such a creative, fun, energetic, happy being. And then at 9 is when the teasing started about my weight. The shift started to happen. The things where I used to dance for fun turned into dancing for exercise, which that wasn't enough. So then I would exercise. My dancing never happened ever. And it was more so like running and then the elliptical. And as I got older, it only got worse. And then it translated into my work and building a business, and now I'm here. And in Arizona, I remember saying to you, like, you guys, and this is full transparency for those who are listening, but I'm like, Joy, I just feel dead inside. I was like, I'm hoping that this mastermind and just being around people like lights me up again, because I need a shift, because I'm always on the verge of burnout. And obviously the masculine energy served me to a point, but it was no longer helping. since that conversation, I don't know if you know this, Joy, but I have really been trying to do the feminine stuff and I really am. And I love it. And it's awesome. But then there's times where I kind of feel like a little bit off, like I'm not following through with things and it's really scary and it's really uncomfortable. And now, like just hearing you kind of talk about having to go one way before you can find the middle, like you just really just thank you for that, because it's really giving me just like that clarity and understanding, like it's okay, you're on the right path, you're on the right track, you're working through things, and things are messy in the middle until they become clear.
That is a normal part of the process, and it freaks
Yeah.
everyone out because I'm losing it, and I'm like, you're letting it fall apart so that you can actually decide from an empowered place what you want things to look like. So you can let some things fall apart before you can actually say, what do I want to build here?
Yeah. Oh, so powerful. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited. Still working on it. We will get there. We will get there.
It's a progress thing. Like it's every day. Some days are different for me. Some days I wake up and I'm like, I need a little more masculine today. Other days I wake up and I'm like, I need a little more feminine today.
I think I really love what you teach. And that's like what I teach when it comes to like eating more intuitively. Like some days you're going to be hungrier than others. Some days you're going to feel like killing it in your workout. Other days you're just going to want to move your body. But like either when the more you learn to honor your body and listen to your body and follow your gut and your intuition and focus on how you want to feel both now and later, right? Not just in the moment, right? But if you have that big picture, that big vision, that's going to help guide you. And I think that what you're sharing is so similar to what I teach with food. And I just love also too, like with your podcast, you always share things about how to be, if you want to be a better coach, be a better person. If you want to be a better wife, be a better person. Like, I just love that general theme. And I'm curious if you want to maybe just share maybe some like tips or grounding work, or like maybe things that you might give assignments to your clients, just so someone listening has a little bit of like a more tactical thing that they can bring back to either do or not do to help them kind of make sure they're having that nice balance between the two energies.
Yes. So some things that I love to do every single morning is just spend time with myself in the morning. So I literally carve out a couple of hours where I have some things that I know I want to do, and I get to pick every day the order that I do them. So, because again, I'm leading with what do I feel like
I love that.
So I love to journal and really dig into like, what are the feelings in my body? What's the churn going on? What thoughts keep coming up for me that they're an opportunity for me to process. They're an opportunity for me to look inward. They're an opportunity for me to go deeper. And then I love to meditate, obviously, is that's my time where I get to get in touch with my heart and get in touch with my gut. And so I will literally close my eyes and one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly, do my deep breaths, and then I really sink in. I love to meditate with music, and I totally give you permission to do the same. Again, people can go at meditation in a very masculine way where they're like, you got to empty your brain, don't think any thoughts, like nothing on, like totally quiet. That's very masculine, right? It's more feminine to be like, I feel like listening to some music and I'm going to let myself flow with this, right? A lot of things qualify as meditation, but as long as you get to get quiet with yourself, that's what counts. So I get quiet and I'll basically be like, what do I feel called to? What does my heart really want? Where do I feel not seen? Where, do I yearn for something? Who am I when everything is stripped away? Right? Like ask really good questions to connect with your heart. And I will even ask, what does my little girl want today? Does she want to dance? Does she want a bubble bath? Does she want an ice cream? Like, what does she want today? What would be fun for her today? And I literally try to make room on my calendar every single day to do what that little girl wants to do. Because when you begin to listen to her, because every time you get that churn and that anxiety and all those feelings coming up in you, that's a former version of you coming up and saying, hey, I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be listened to. I need something. And so it's your opportunity to actually embrace that part of you and accept her and give her what she needs. And the more that you do that, the more whole you feel with yourself. And you will actually have less of the self-sabotage. You'll actually have less of them coming up and be like, no, we're not doing this, right? And then you can't show up for yourself, all the things. So it's practicing becoming aware of all those parts of you, having a conversation, checking in with them every single day, and then giving them what they need. Do they need conversation? Do they need to go do something? What do they need? And then I will literally just sit and observe, like my business, observe how I have been showing up, or how I want to show up, or what I truly feel is on my heart that I want to do. And so my last launch I just did in May, it was all because of stuff that came for me in meditation. And I was like, okay, I feel called to this, but I'm going to wait till I get all the details. And one morning in my meditation, it just came. And I was like, here's the details. This is how it's going to work. And then I was like, how would I like to launch this? And before, I always launched in the way I'd been taught, which was like, sell for a week online and all the posts and all the stories and like all the emails, right? You need to be selling in the DMs. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah.
I created the easiest launch method, not one discovery call, with an application and a few emails. And I didn't even use a formula for emails. I literally was like, what does my heart want to say?
That's
and I
beautiful.
wrote from my heart. And it was the biggest, easiest launch I've ever had. And I was like, this is what it means to lead with your heart. So get fun with your heart, meditate. And then I move. It's not like fun dancing. I'll do that later. But this is more so like what feeling is in my body, and how can I move in a way that's going to literally express that? Because feelings are meant to come in and go out. And most people don't let them go out. They get stuck inside of them, but they go out not just with expression, but with movement. So you've got to be dancing, or if you're angry, you've got to be hitting something, right? Like you have to actually physically move stuff out of you. So I turn on music. I love primal music. I love all kinds of music. And I out like, what do I need to move to? And I don't judge it. I don't try to look sexy. I don't try to look a certain way. It's just literally like, how do I want to move? And what do I need to express?
Yeah, that's powerful. But as you were saying it, I could already see myself judging myself, like as I'm trying to allow myself to like dance freely and not, not worry. How do you get over that? Is it just doing it more?
It's also seeing the part of you that wants to judge yourself and saying, I see you. I love you. I accept you.
I think it's a protective mechanism because the judgment started at 9. That comes up a lot for me. Like in therapy, I'm always like fear of being judged and everything. And I just think that sometimes I judge myself because it's like protecting myself from being judged by other people. But it's just like, ironic's not the right word, but it's just ridiculous actually, because no one's there. It's just me in my room.
But it's not ridiculous. And careful with that, because you don't want her to feel like she's ridiculous, because she's in front of you.
Yeah.
Doing that to feel safe.
Yeah.
So it's actually saying, I see you. I love you. It's okay. Like it's okay that you're here and that we're judging ourselves right now.
Yeah.
And actually accepting that part of you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. Oh, okay. Well, since you brought up social media, since you are like a social media guru, and I know some people who listen, whether they're nutrition coaches, dietitians, business owners, want to start a business, like you do use Instagram a lot as your platform, or maybe you use others that I'm not aware of, but what would you say to someone who maybe has been wanting to start a business or wants to post more or wants to be on? Also, you're so honest, open, and vulnerable. And I know that people don't just like start with that. Like, so what are some steps someone can take to being seen more on social and not allowing that fear to take over them?
Well, reels are an amazing way to be seen right now because Instagram is favoring them. So starting with reels where you can be lighthearted and almost make fun or do memes or laugh at things will be an easy way to ease in. Because like you said, maybe people can't just jump straight into vulnerability. And then when I first started being vulnerable, I literally baby stepped it, right? I wasn't like from 0 to 100. It was like, how could I open just a little bit more today? And that's what I encourage with my clients. It's never like, we're going to change overnight. It's how can you be with this part of you and open a little bit more today. Let go of control a little bit more today. And so asking yourself that, what could I share? I love taking my experiences and assuming they're not just mine. Somebody else has lived them. And so I literally turn it into a post and I replace I and me with you and your. And I write the story as if I know it's your story and you went through this. And I think most people miss the mark with content because they're afraid to assume that, because they think their story is just theirs and they're special and they're unique, but there's 8 billion of us on the planet.
Yeah.
And you're not special. You're not unique. And I mean that in the best sense. I mean that in the fact of, if you experience that, someone else did too.
Right.
So write your content, write your story from the place of you and your, and that also makes you feel less vulnerable because it's not I and me.
Yeah.
right? It's not all about me and my story. It's, hey, I know this is you, and I know you have gone through this. I know you feel this way. I know you struggled with this, and here's how you can change. Here's how you can start to shift things.
Yeah. Definitely. And also, just to add to that, I would say from blogging for so many years, sometimes you're like, oh, nobody saw it, nobody read it, I'm not helping anyone. But also the people you're probably helping the most are watching, reading, but they're not commenting. They're not messaging you, but they might 5 years later, but they're feeling the same way you're feeling. So like, they don't want people to know that they're going through the same thing. So your message is helping people, and it's helping you too. I think it's
not even be following you. I call them lurkers. You
yeah.
all lurkers, and they're actually your biggest fan.
Biggest, absolutely. They're the ones that they're the ones that hit you in the DMs like, how can I work with you, when you're like, I didn't even know you followed me, but now I see that you've been following me for years, and that's amazing. Yeah, that's so awesome. Joy, before we kind of wrap up, I know you have some great stuff going on. Is there anything that we didn't touch on or didn't talk about today that you feel like it's important that the listeners hear?
I mean, I would say working on feminine energy starts with just working on you, and starts with wanting to just give yourself some healing that you deserve. Because if feminine energy is a struggle for you, or if you're like, you know what, I just don't like where I'm at, I'm not feeling fulfilled, I'm not feeling happy, there's healing there that is available to you, and that can completely change your life and help you find inner freedom, which inner freedom to me is not feeling pressure anymore to be a certain way, or do anything, or produce anything, or achieve anything. Like, I can literally feel that I'm enough on a daily basis. And I think most people don't feel that way. And that's just a symptom of some healing that needs to happen. And so gifting yourself that will really empower you to start stepping into more of your feminine energy.
Yeah. Oh, so powerful. So powerful. Joy, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you, work with you? I know you just launched a new coaching program. If you want to share a little bit more about that.
Yes.
Be happy to hear.
I'm on Instagram, of course. That's my favorite platform. It's joyharrington.ig. And then I actually have a podcast called Level Up Babe, which I love to share on. And I do have a new membership. So anyone that's looking for coaching, or some of my programs that I've done an Instagram program, which is a deep dive into producing sales on the platform. Then I have another program that's all about feminine energy and the coaching model, and really helping yourself start to coach through that healing. Plus, you get live coaching with me in the Facebook group. It's an awesome membership. It's a one-time payment. You get lifetime access. So you can find out all about it on Instagram.
Yay. Guys, go follow Joy. And please let her know what you thought of this episode. We really appreciate it when you tell us like what you learned, what you're going to take away. We are not judging you. We are celebrating you. We want to know what you learned. And if anything here resonated with you, if you also want to share with a friend, that would be amazing. If you want to take a screenshot of the episode, share it on your story, tag me at tips_with_Toni with an I, and then tag Joy as well. Joy, you've been amazing. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so excited for people to hear this. If you guys are not subscribed to the podcast, definitely hit that subscribe button. A new episode comes out now every Tuesday and Thursday. We just changed it up. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.